Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today on the workshop on how to estimate downtime in operational technology environments. During this session, I will walk you through the downtime calculator, which we created specifically for organizations that operate, build, or support OT and ICS environments. If you cannot use a laptop during the session, please don't worry about it, as you can watch the recording later on. So now I will show the demo with my colleague, and you can repeat this exercise later, tailoring the figures to your environment. And let me share with you several notes before we start. So this workshop has been recorded, as I mentioned, and we will send you a link with the replay via email within 48 hours. Your microphones and cameras are going to be off during this session. However, any questions you may have, please submit in the Q&A section. My colleague's going to monitor it. And for those who joined us for the first time, Acronis is the only platform that natively integrates cybersecurity, data protection, and infrastructure management in a single agent and console. We enable MSPs, IT, and OT departments to consolidate their tool stack and support NIST-aligned protection from one platform across endpoints, Microsoft 365, cloud, virtual, and on-premises environments. Today, Robert Conley joined me to support during the workshop, answering your questions in the Q&A section, and show you at the end of the webinar the Acronis solution in action. Robert is a senior solutions engineer at Acronis with 10 years of experience working with small, medium, and enterprise businesses. My name is Julia Kertesz, and I am global marketing lead at Acronis. My main focus is helping OT organizations and OEMs so they can keep critical operations running and recover faster if disruption occurs. And to set the stage for the further conversation, let's just quickly align on the difference between IT and OT downtime and what it is important to estimate. So in IT, downtime often means that people cannot access emails, applications, data, or cloud systems. In OT, downtime can stop physical operations, production lines, plant visibility, monitoring systems, and sometimes even safety-related processes. This is why OT recovery is different. It is not only about bringing a system back online or minimizing financial impact, which we're also going to talk today. It is about restoring operations safely with the right configuration, validation, and minimum disruption. So, as I mentioned today, we're going to estimate both sides, what downtime may cost to your company and what faster recovery could change. And now let's look at the problem a little bit closer. So industry research and downtime studies show that many industrial organizations face 50 or more downtime incidents per year. That number may sound high, but downtime is not only caused by major cyber attacks, as you know. It can also come from the equipment failure, software issues, failed updates, human error, misconfiguration, network problem, or slow manual recovery. These incidents can add up to 200 or more hours of downtime per year, especially when recovery depends on several teams, manual rebuilds, vendor support, or untested backups. And the financial impact can be also quite high. The benchmark shown here is around $125,000 per hour on average. And for some industries, it can be even higher or lower. And this is why we actually created this calculator to help you move from the general benchmarks to an estimate for your own environment. So during this workshop, you will learn how to estimate your downtime exposure using the OT downtime calculator, adjust benchmark numbers to your own environment, and model how fast recovery could change the impact. So by the end, you should have a clear baseline: what downtime may cost today, how much time faster recovery could save, and what next steps you can take to improve operational uptime. So now let's move to the calculator. Here on the slide, you can see the QR code, and my colleagues will send you now the link to the chat. And I'm going to reshare my screen so I can also show you the demo of the calculator. Okay. So in this calculator, we use industry benchmarks just to give you some starting point. We have discrete manufacturing, automotive, chemicals, pharma, and etc. So please choose the industry which is closer to your environment, but please don't worry, all numbers will be adjustable. And for just this illustrative example, I will choose automotive industry because it has quite high cost of downtime, so it is pretty illustrative for our example. And now when we move to the operational details, the first figure, production value per hour, this field means how much production output, throughput, or revenue is at risk during 1 hour of downtime for the affected line, process, or site. So, for example, it can be the value of goods produced per hour, the revenue linked to that production line, or the value of 1 hour of plant operation. In most critical OT environments, this number should not be zero, because if the system or line is important, some production value is usually at risk when it stops. So for our automotive example, I will use this benchmark 250,000 per hour. And let's move to unplanned downtime. So it is measured in hours per month, and that means in a typical month, how many hours are lost because of unplanned OT downtime. It can be caused by hardware failure, software issues, failed updates, misconfiguration, cyber incidents, or slow recovery after problem. This number also should not be normally zero, because even mature environments, they can experience unplanned downtime from restart delays, maintenance issues, recovery problems, or system failures. So for this example, I will keep using the benchmark 6 hours per month. And the next field is very important. It is recovery time in hours per incident. And that means when an incident happens, how long does it take to return to stable production? Why I said it's important, because as you know, in OT, recovery is not only rebooting the PC. It can include restoring the system, checking the configurations, validating the process, restarting operations, and making sure production is stable again. So when you use this field, think about the full time from the start of the incident until operations are really back. And now I'm showing you the default logic of this calculator. So if we have 6 hours of downtime per month and each incident takes 3 hours to recover, the calculator we have here by default, for this example, 2 incidents per month, right? But just to show you how to use this calculator, I will use example of a bigger incident. So I will say that the recovery time will take 6 hours. And it means I need to have here 1 incident. Okay. Now let's move to the full-time employee per incident, which means how many people are usually involved in the recovery process. This can include OT engineers, plant operators, IT or security team, engineering managers, and maintenance teams. This number usually also is not zero as well, because even if recovery is automated, people still need to check, approve, validate, and restart the process safely. So for this automotive example, I will also use 6 people. The next field is labor cost per hour. This is the average loaded hourly cost for the people involved in recovery. It doesn't need to be exact. You can use an average blended rate, but if you don't know the exact number, you can still use the benchmark and validate it later with your teams. And this also shouldn't be zero usually, because internal people also have costs, and during downtime, they are pulled away from other work. So for this example, I will use $120 per hour. And the last field in this section is overhead per incident. So this is like an extra cost that happens because the incident occurs. You have it not as a part of production value or hourly labor. For example, this can include scrap, rework, restart cost, quality checks, compliant documentation, and of course, external OEM or contractor support. But of course, the idea not to count the same cost twice, so external personnel shouldn't be included in the internal employee count, especially if you already including it in overhead. And yeah, also please note that this is per incident, not per month. So for this demo, I will keep using the benchmark of 20,000 per incident. But if the incident is larger and creates more rework, higher restart cost, or even an emergency vendor support, this number should be increased. And if the incident is smaller and has very limited extra cost, it can be reduced. So, and before we move to the improved recovery scenario over here, I wanted to mention that different companies have different recovery maturity. So some companies don't have a backup vendor. They may rely on manual rebuilds, old images, or their vendor support. In that case, recovery time and number of people involved can be higher. Some companies have backup, but recovery is manual or not tested. In this case, when you use the calculator, it still should reflect the real time it takes to find the backup, restore, validate, and restart. Some companies already have a backup vendor, but recovery is too slow, too IT dependent, or not practical for OT teams. And in this case, we should use your actual current recovery time for this setting, right? So, and then you model a more OT friendly recovery process and how it could improve the situation. And now let's start playing with these numbers. So as I mentioned, we simulating here the one bigger incident per month. So I changed the number from default 2 incidents to 1 as we adjusted the figures above. Then in the improved recovery time, this field helps us to estimate how long could recovery take if the recovery process becomes faster. And this is where you can translate downtime to the business value. As a benchmark, calculator suggests 20% faster recovery time. And this is quite conservative starting point because in many OT environments, moving from manual rebuilds to image-based recovery and one-click recovery can justify 20% or more. But numbers should always reflect your environment. So for our example, we have current recovery time as 6 hours. So I will use the improved recovery scenario 4 hours. So meaning that we saving 2 hours per incident. And now let's look at the results. On the left side, you can see the current estimate downtime cost, the monthly production loss, monthly labor cost, overhead cost, downtime cost, and hourly downtime cost and annual. So it illustrates what downtime may cost today if nothing changes. And on the right side, you can see the estimated impact with a solution like Acronis. In our example, we model one bigger incident per month. So today recovery takes 6 hours. In the improved scenario, recovery takes 4 hours. So over 12 months, that equals 24 hours saved per year. And because every downtime hour in the automotive sector is expensive, Those 24 hours create a potential estimated saving from faster recovery of about 6 million per year in our example. So to share your results with colleagues, you can copy a shareable link below or download the PDF file. And you can validate these numbers that you got during this workshop internally, and also identify which systems or infrastructure dependencies create the greatest downtime risks so you can ensure faster recovery for these systems. And of course, I'm talking about the PC-based OT systems like an HMI SCADA server, engineering workstation, historian, or jump server, as well as the virtualization hosts that support several critical OT workloads. And it's quite obvious, but I'm mentioning it because a failure affecting one physical or virtual machine may disrupt a specific function, but the loss of virtualization host could affect multiple critical servers at the same time. From here, we can move from the calculator to how Acronis could support faster, more reliable recovery in OT and ICS environments. Let me reshare my screen, please. And to illustrate how Acronis Cyber Protect for OT supports resilience, we can organize its key capabilities around 4 simple ideas: secure, available, fast, and easy. Secure is about protecting the recoverability and integrity of the PC-based systems that OT operations depend on. Acronis preserves a complete recoverable copy of the machine instead of backing up only individual files, including its operating system, applications, configurations, and data. This helps teams return a failed system to a known working state rather than rebuilding it from scratch. So it helps to reduce the recovery time, specialist effort, and operational disruption. Available means keeping recovery capability within reach of the plant, even when external connectivity is limited or unavailable. Backups can be maintained on premises, supporting air-gapped and hybrid environments. The next pillar is fast, which means enabling the plant team to start recovery immediately, rather than waiting for an IT specialist to arrive on site or become available remotely. With one-click recovery, an authorized local operator can initiate a pre-configured recovery of the complete system from a known good backup without having to rebuild it manually. For the business, it means less dependence on immediate IT intervention, shorter production interruptions, and more predictable return to operations. And the final pillar in this safe model is easy, which means making recovery readiness easier to manage, govern, and demonstrate. From an Acronis console, authorized IT and OT teams can manage protection plans, monitor backup status, and receive notifications. Your plant and IT teams can use recovery records, configured retention controls, and reporting to demonstrate that they protect critical systems and follow recovery processes consistently. Taken together, these capabilities help organizations protect the PC-based systems that support OT operations, keep recovery available within the plant, and enable authorized local teams to respond sooner when a critical system fails. And now let's quickly take a look at the Purdue model to illustrate where Acronis solution can be deployed. So in most environments, the bigger recovery challenge is often the PC-based OT systems, and this is where Acronis helps to protect and recover them, especially at levels 3.5, 3, and 2. And this is important because if these systems fail, the plant may lose visibility, control, configuration access, reporting, or remote access. And if we take, for example, NIS2 regulations requirements, they explicitly say that even loss of visibility is considered as an incident. So without a fast recovery path, teams may need to rebuild the OS, reinstall applications, reapply configurations, and validate everything again, which means also itself longer and expensive downtime. With that, let's welcome Robert, our senior solutions engineer. And Robert will show you a quick technical demo. We will look at how Acronis Cyber Protect helps protecting critical OT systems and supporting fast recovery. Welcome, Robert.
Hi, this is Robert Conley. Today I'm going to go ahead and bring you through Acronis Cyber Protect. What we're looking at here is the on-premise control panel. The control panel is fully customizable. These are widgets that we go ahead and put on the main control panel. And you can customize them. This gives you an overview of what's going on the floor in real time. Along with activities, this is going to give you details about what's currently running or has run. So these are the machines that are currently on the floor. I registered them by deploying agent down to each one of these devices. These are all the different types of devices we support: Windows, virtualization, along with application level backups and protection. You can register the devices either by token, or I can go ahead and scan the network and send the agent out to all the nearby devices, at least within this network segment. And see, here's some additional features too that I can do on the actual device now that the agent is deployed on it. What we're looking at here are the actual backups and all the different locations we're storing backups for this device. And below you see all the different backups slices. And you select the backup slice you would like to recover from. You can either recover the entire machine or go in and just pull out individual files and folders. Or we can also run as VM. So if you do have your hypervisors registered, you could take the backup slice and run it as a virtual machine. In addition to that, you also have the bootable media. So this is for machines that might be on the floor without an operating system. Bare metal recoveries, you could walk up to that device with USB, do a backup or a recovery of that device on the floor. So in protection, this is where we have our protection plans. This is where we specify which devices we want to back up and what services and features are going to be enabled on them. So here what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a computer to my protection plan I'm making here. And we'll go ahead and just give it a simple name here, like OT backup. The reason I'm doing this is every time I add a new device now, I'm giving the option to add it to this plan or any other plan I may have already created. Makes it really simple. So here, just specify what to back up. Entire machine is going to give you the file level recovery along with the entire machine recovery. Where to back up. So we're going to specify what is going to be our first backup target. Here's all the different storage options: cloud storage, local storage, network storage, Acronis software storage solutions, even a tape, which is very popular still in the OT space. So yeah, we still definitely get a lot of tape requests. So it is definitely supported, even along with external media like USB or locally attached media. And so these are the backup plan and the schedules here. That's what I'm doing is I'm setting for a daily backup, and it's going to be incremental. You can do full or have custom settings too. And in here, I'm going to go ahead and set the backup age, the retention. So in this case, I just want to restore to my storage location and specify an encryption password also. We can also convert this VM after the backup is completed to a virtual machine, just to have a standby virtual machine created for you based off the most recent backup. This is the application level. So if you're running these applications on the machines in this plan, you simply just say yes, and it'll add some additional protection for them. And obviously you can add additional locations, any number of additional locations. As an example here, I'm just going to specify a secondary location, another storage device in my OT network segment here. And I'm going to specify a different retention period for this storage device. So we'll call this our long-term storage device. So I'm going to keep the backups there for 7 years. This is an example of a backup plan. As you see, is very simple to create. Going forward, I can add new devices to this, or I can have just this one individual device, and this is its specific backup plan for that device. In addition, underneath, you'll see these additional security options. You can enable and disable them in the plan, and then you go into each module and can make the configurations. And active protection is where the ransomware protection is, and this is the one that will catch the encryption attacks and actually revert the files back and keep the machines protected. So you can disable and enable these services on the plan. You just flip those switches there. In addition, I want to go ahead and take a look today also. We're going to dig into one backup option. It's really important for OT, and this is the one-click recovery. So this is the option when enabled. The user is given the ability to hold down a key during a reboot, or maybe if there's a blue screen situation in the morning. It will bring up an Acronis bootloader and allow them to simply recover the device from the most recent backup. And so what I'd like to do is go ahead now and just jump into a quick demonstration of that, because I think it's important and it's a topic that we've touched on a bit today. We'll go ahead and switch over to my desktop computer here. We'll go ahead and take a look at the one-click recovery in action. Um, what we're looking at here is a computer that has the Acronis agent on it. Um, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and reboot the machine, and we will see the reboot process and the recovery process happen. So what happens at this point is the computer is either in a completely power off state, maybe blue screen, the person's going to restart it, and they'll see an option to hold F11 right here. So if they press F11, which I'm going to do, and it will bring up the Acronis bootloader, which we're going to see in a second. So this is the one-click recovery console. And so you can see it's very simple. The first option is the option that's going to allow you to recover this machine in a single click from the most recent backup. It will go out and find the most recent backup and just recover the machine. The second option is going to allow you to select which backup slice. So if you don't want the most recent backup, maybe you want a day or two or three, you can select it. But in most cases, number one is going to be the solution to recover this machine in the case of a failure. So I'll go ahead and select one. It's going to warn me that it's going to recover my entire computer. And do I want to continue? I'm going to say yes. Yeah, so now it's running in the background. I didn't have to insert any USB media. The machine was ready for me. I just needed to engage the one-click recovery. And next you'll see as it automatically loads the bootable media and starts the recovery process. And so what you're seeing here is the progress bar running through the recovery. We're almost done. And the machine's going to go through a reboot again. And at this reboot, it will ask for F11 again, but in this case, I'm not going to press F11. I'm just going to allow it to go ahead and boot into the Windows operating system. And it should be booting now into the most recent good copy of that computer. And here we go. The Windows prompt is back. It's booting up, and now it's booting into the most recent good copy of this machine. All right, what I'd like to do now is take us back into the deployment and kind of speak a little bit on how this would be deployed within your environment. So what I showed you today was the management server. And so that is that website that I was logged into. You're going to install it on any Windows or Linux machine within your environment that can speak to the computers that you would like to back up. On top of that, we also have a centralized monitoring hub. I'll kind of go into a little bit more detail about that. But first, let's look at the management server again. The management server itself is going to speak to the agents. And the agents essentially is the software that's running on the computers on the OT floor. Now, those computers are what speak to storage. So that can be anything from local storage to anything that would present itself as an SMB, a CIFS share. So, for example, NASes, even appliances like HP Store Once, all are supported, including tape. So the centralized monitoring hub is going to solve the problem if you have a bunch of separate areas within your environment where we need to segregate those locations. The centralized monitoring hub will give you a single view of all the management servers and allow you to easily identify issues across the entire environment. And here we are back at the Acronis Cyber Protect 17 local control panel. And I just wanted to take the time here and thank everybody for spending a little bit of their afternoon or evening with me, or maybe morning, depending on where you're located. And I'll go ahead and pass it back. But once again, thank you very much.
Thank you, Robert. That was a really great demonstration, giving us a taste of what Acronis can do. But as it has much more capabilities, let's run a poll. So you can select whether you want a free 30-day trial of Acronis Cyber Platform or a technical deep dive with one of our solution engineers to see how Acronis Cyber Protect will work in your environment. And while you're selecting the option, let me show you a few complementary resources that may be interesting to you. So first of all, please check out our OT downtime calculator that we used today during the workshop. And also you can take a look at the data sheet for OT-driven companies and solution briefs tailored to different OT industries. Also, we have several recent case studies with brands like ABB, Schaeffler, Toyota, Tata Steel, Evolus Biotechnologies. And now I'd like to thank you for joining our workshop. I hope it was useful and we really appreciate the time you spent with us today. So please have a great rest of the day and goodbye.